The council halls floated in the darkness of space like a giant crystal flower. Its walls were made of clear blue stone that glowed with soft light. For 3,000 years, no one had ever entered these halls without carrying a weapon. That was about to change. Captain Hyen-woo, Kim stood at the massive entrance doors. His hands were empty. His uniform was simple and clean, but he carried no blade, no gun, no weapon of any kind. This had never happened before in the history of the Galactic Federation. Are you sure about this? Asked Dr. Sojin Park, walking. Beside him, she was a scientist who studied alien life forms. Her job was to help humans understand other species. Right now, she looked worried. "We have no choice," Hyen-woo said quietly. "This is our only chance." Around them, delegates from dozens of alien species were gathering. Each one carried their traditional weapons with pride. The Vrlani walked tall with their plasma blades glowing bright blue at their sides. These weapons could cut through solid metal like paper. The Gorvani stomped forward with their warhammers, huge weapons that could smash through mountain rock. Their gray skin was covered in scars from countless battles. The Kalahari moved in perfect formation, their insect-like bodies clicking as they walked. Living weapons grew from their arms like extra limbs. These bioweapons could change shape and shoot deadly poison. The Netherians floated above the ground, their ghost-like forms shimmering. Energy weapons danced around them like living light. Every species had brought their finest weapons. Every species except humanity. "Look at them staring at us," whispered Commander Woojin Choi, the head of human security. His job was to keep the human team safe, but even he carried no weapon today. "I think we are weak." Dr. Yuna Song, a historian who studied alien cultures, pointed to a group of tall, green-skinned aliens. "Those are the Mordani. See how they keep their crystal spears pointing up. So that means they think we are not worthy of respect." The aliens whispered to each other in their strange languages. Some made clicking sounds. Others spoke in musical tones. A few communicated through changing colors on their skin. But Hyen-woo could tell they were all saying the same thing. The humans were foolish to come here without weapons. The entrance doors began to open. They moved slowly, making a deep humming sound that echoed through the space around them. Behind the doors was a hall so large it seemed to have no end. The ceiling was covered in stars that moved and danced. The floor was smooth and black like a mirror. "Welcome to the council halls," said a voice that came from everywhere at once. It spoke in perfect Korean, but Hyen-woo knew it was also speaking to each species in their own language at the same time. "Please enter and take your places." The alien delegates began to move forward. Their weapons caught the light from the star ceiling, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. The Vrlani held their plasma blades high. The Gorvani let their warhammers rest on their shoulders. The Kalahari's bioweapons twitched and moved like living snakes. Hyen-woo took a deep breath. "Remember," he said to his team, "we are not here to fight. We are here to prove that humans belong in the Federation." "But how can we prove anything without weapons?" asked Dr. Park. "Every species respects strength. To them, weapons mean strength." "Maybe that is exactly why we will succeed," said Hyen-woo. They walked forward into the hall. The other delegates moved away from them, creating an empty circle around the humans. It was like they were afraid the humans might be carrying some invisible disease. The council halls were even more beautiful inside. The walls showed pictures of great battles from across the galaxy. Ancient warriors fought with swords made of pure energy. Space fleets fired weapons that could destroy entire planets. Heroes from 1,000 different worlds stood ready for war. But in the center of all these images of war and weapons, there was something strange. An empty space where no picture hung. It was shaped like a doorway, but it led nowhere. "What is that?" asked Commander Choi, pointing at the empty space. Dr. Song studied it carefully. "According to my research, that space is reserved for the species that proves weapons are not needed for true strength. But no one has ever filled it. No one has ever tried," added Dr. Park. The delegates took their seats in a great circle around the center of the hall. Each species sat in a section designed for their body type. The Vrlani had tall, thin chairs. The Gorvani had thick stone seats. The Kalahari had platforms where they could stand in formation. Netherians had floating spaces where they could drift freely. The humans had simple chairs that looked tiny compared to the others. But they were placed in the center of the circle, the most important position in the hall. At the far end of the hall, a massive throne began to rise from the floor. It was made of the same blue crystal as the walls, but it pulsed with darker light. On this throne sat High Chancellor Vrex, the leader of the Galactic Federation. Vrex was a Verlani, but older and larger than the others. His skin was pale blue, and covered in silver markings that showed his rank. His plasma blade was longer than any other, and it glowed with white light instead of blue. This meant he had won it in single combat against the previous High Chancellor. Beings of the Federation, Vrex spoke, his voice filling the enormous hall. Today we decide if the species called humanity will join our ranks. For 50 years, they have asked for membership. For 50 years, we have said no. Murmurs filled the hall. Many delegates nodded in agreement. Humans had been rejected many times before. But today's different, Vrex continued. Today they come to us with a new claim. They say they deserve membership not because they are strong, but because they are something else entirely. War Prime Thuk, the largest of the Gorvani, stood up. His warhammer was so big it took both hands to lift it. What can they be without weapons? What can they be without strength? That, said Vrex, is what we are here to discover. The High Chancellor's eyes fixed on Captain Hyen-Woo Kim. Human, you stand before the Council of the Galactic Federation. You carry no weapon. You show no sign of strength. Tell us why your species deserves to sit among warriors. Hyen-Woo stood up slowly. Around him, hundreds of alien eyes watched his every move. Weapons glowed and hummed with power. But he remained calm. Your Honor, he said. We come not to prove our strength with weapons, but to show you something far more dangerous. The hall fell silent. Even the moving stars on the ceiling seemed to slow down. We come to show you what humans can do when they choose not to fight. The silence in the council halls was heavy, like a thick blanket. Captain Hyen-Woo, Kim's words hung in the air. We come to show you what humans can do when they choose not to fight. High Chancellor Vrex leaned forward on his crystal throne. Plasma blade pulsed with white light. Explain yourself, human. What power can exist without weapons? Before Hyen-Woo could answer, War Prime Thok slammed his warhammer against the floor. The sound echoed through the massive hall like thunder. This is foolishness, he roared. Strength comes from weapons. Honor comes from battle. These humans mock our traditions. Many delegates nodded in agreement. The Mordani raised their crystal spears higher. The Kelhari's bioweapons began to glow with angry red light. The Netherians' energy forms flickered faster, showing their irritation. Ambassador Jinho Lee stood up next to Hyen-Woo. He was older than the others, with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been trying to get humans into the Federation for 20 years. Honored Council, he said with a calm voice, we do not mock your traditions. We respect them deeply. But we ask you to consider that there might be different kinds of strength. A tall, thin alien with purple skin stood up. This was Speaker Zeth of the Corvani. His people carried weapons that looked like living metal snakes wrapped around their arms. Different kinds of strength? He asked. We have seen your species, human. You are weak. You live short lives. You fight among yourselves. You have barely learned to travel between stars. Your technology is primitive, added Hive Speaker Crix of the Kalahari. Her insect-like voice clicked and buzzed. Your weapons are simple metal and chemicals. You cannot even create plasma or energy fields. Dr. Sojin Park stepped forward. She had studied all these species for years. Speaker Zeth, you are correct. We are weak in many ways. But weakness can teach lessons that strength cannot. What lessons? Asked High Chancellor Vrex. The lesson of adaptation, Dr. Park replied. When you are strong, you do not need to change. When you are weak, you must become clever. Thok laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. Clever. What good is clever against a warhammer that can split planets? Commander Wu Jian-Choi had been quiet until now. He was a military man trained to fight. But today he spoke like a teacher. War Prime Thok, may I ask you something? Speak. Small human, your warhammer is magnificent, has great power. But what happens when you face an enemy you cannot hit? Thok's gray skin darkened with anger. There is no enemy I cannot hit. What about the Void Raiders? Commander Choi asked quietly. The hall became silent again. The Void Raiders were a mystery that had troubled the Federation for centuries. They attacked without warning, destroyed entire colonies, and vanished before anyone could fight back. No weapon had ever touched them. The Void Raiders are different, Thok muttered. They use cowards' tricks. Exactly, said Commander Choi. They adapted to be stronger than your weapons. They found a way to win without fighting your kind of fight. Scholar Void Essence, the Netherian council member, floated closer. Its form was like living smoke that sparkled with tiny lights. When it spoke, its voice was like wind through trees. You compare yourselves to the Void Raiders? This is not wise, humans. Dr. Unisong opened a small device that projected images into the air. Not compare, honored scholar. We offer contrast. The images showed human history, cities being built, farms growing food, children learning in schools. Your species built great weapons and became masters of war, she continued. This is admirable. But humans built something else. We built the ability to survive anything. Survive? Asked Speaker Zeth. How is survival impressive? Even the smallest insects can survive. Can they? Asked Dr. Song. She changed the images. Now they showed human settlements on worlds with no water, no air, no light. Humans live on ice worlds where the air freezes solid. We live on desert planets where the sand burns through metal. We live in space itself in ships, smaller than this hall. For years at a time, the delegates began to murmur. Some looked impressed despite themselves. We have seen your colonial reports, added Ambassador Lee. Most species can only live on worlds very similar to their home planet. Humans can live anywhere. High Chancellor Vrex studied the images carefully. This is ... interesting, but adaptation is not strength. It is not honor. Captain Hyen-Woo Kim stepped forward again. Your Honor, may I tell you about the Battle of New Seoul? Speak. 5 years ago, the Void Raiders attacked our colony on New Seoul. 50,000 humans lived there. They had no weapons that could fight the raiders, no shields that could stop them, no ships that could catch them. The hall was completely quiet now. Everyone knew that when the Void Raiders attacked, colonies died. There were no survivors. What happened? Asked War Prime Thok. The humans did something the Void Raiders had never seen before, Hyen-Woo continued. They did not try to fight. They did not try to run. They did something else entirely. What? Several delegates asked at the same time. They invited the Void Raiders to stay for dinner. The hall erupted in confusion. Delegates spoke rapidly. In their own languages, some stood up from their seats. Others made sounds of disbelief. Silence, commanded High Chancellor Vrex. Explain this madness, human. Dr. Park stepped forward with another device. The Void Raiders had always attacked and left quickly. No one had ever tried to communicate with them. But humans noticed something strange. The Raiders always took food from the colonies they attacked. Not weapons, not technology. Food. So? Asked Hive Speaker Crix. So the humans of New Seoul realized the Void Raiders were not conquerors, continued Dr. Park. They were refugees, were starving. The silence that followed was different from before. It was not the silence of anger or confusion. It was the silence of beings trying to understand something completely new. The humans fed them, said Commander Choi, shared their food, their knowledge, their homes. They turned enemies into allies without firing a single shot. This is impossible, whispered Speaker Zeth. The Void Raiders still visit New Seoul, said Ambassador Lee. But now they come to trade, not to raid. They brought technologies that helped humans build better farms, better homes. They became friends. War Prime Thok gripped his warhammer tighter. This proves nothing. One lucky guess does not make a species worthy. It was not luck, said Captain Hyen-Woo Kim. It was what humans do best. We see problems differently. We find solutions no one else thinks of. Hey, Chancellor Vrex leaned back on his throne. His plasma blade had stopped pulsing. You ask us to believe that weakness is strength, that having no weapons is better than having weapons.
Oh.
Your Honor, said Hyanwu, we ask you to consider that maybe the most dangerous weapon is the one no one can see coming. The captain looked around the hall at all the alien faces watching him. We ask you to let us prove that humans belong here, not because we can fight, but because we can do something far more powerful. What is that? Asked the High Chancellor. We can make enemies into friends. We can solve problems that weapons cannot solve. We can find hope where others see only defeat. Hyanwu paused, then spoke his final words. We can show you what happens when a species chooses to be dangerous through kindness instead of war. High Chancellor Vrex studied the humans for a long moment. His silver markings seemed to glow brighter as he thought. Words are easy to speak, he said finally. Stories can be changed. If you truly believe humans are dangerous through kindness, then prove it. How would you have us prove it, Your Honor? Asked Ambassador Jinho Lee. Show us, said Warprime Thok, standing up with his massive warhammer. Show us this power you claim to have. Show us why we should fear beings who carry no weapons. Captain Hyanwu Kim nodded to Dr. Sojin Park. She reached into a simple cloth bag and pulled out 4 objects. She placed them on a small table in the center of the hall where everyone could see them. The delegates leaned forward to look. What they saw made many of them laugh. There was an old leather boot, worn and cracked, a small wooden toy shaped like a horse, a simple kitchen knife with a black handle, and a rectangular device with a cracked screen that humans called a smartphone. These are your weapons? Asked Hive Speaker Crix, her insect voice full of mockery. Old junk? These are not weapons, said Dr. Park calmly. These are examples of what makes humans dangerous. She picked up the old boot first. This boot belonged to my grandfather, Park Minho. He wore it during what humans call the Great Suffering, a war on our home planet 70 years ago. The boot looked very ordinary. The leather was dark and cracked. The sole was worn thin. There were small holes near the toes. My grandfather was a soldier, but not a good one, Doctor. Park continued. He was young and scared. His weapons were old and broken. His uniform was too big. His commanders sent him to defend a hill that could not be defended. Then he died, said Speaker Zeth dismissively. This proves humans are weak. No, said Dr. Park. He lived because of what this boot represents. She held the boot higher so everyone could see it clearly. The enemy had better weapons and more soldiers. They had tanks and planes and bombs. But my grandfather had something they did not have. What? Asked several delegates at once. He had the human ability to keep walking when walking should be impossible. Dr. Park set the boot down gently. My grandfather walked through enemy fire to get water for wounded soldiers. He walked through snow so deep it reached his chest. He walked for 3 days without food to carry messages between units. He walked until the sole of this boot was worn completely through. She paused, looking around the hall. The enemy had superior weapons, but they could not understand why humans would not stop walking. They could not understand why humans would not give up. They won every battle, but they lost the war because humans simply refused to quit. The hall was quiet. Some delegates looked confused. Others looked thoughtful. Dr. Park picked up the wooden toy horse. This was carved by my friend's daughter, Lee Sujin. She was 6 years old when she made it. The toy was simple and rough. It had been painted bright colors, but much of the paint had worn away. One ear was chipped. The legs were not quite even. A child's toy, said Warprime Thok. How is this dangerous? Sujin carved this while her family was trapped in a collapsed building after an earthquake, Dr. Park explained. They were buried under rocks and metal for 4 days. The adults were ready to give up hope. They thought they would die in the darkness. Dr. Park turned the toy over in her hands. But Sujin kept working on this horse. She used a piece of broken glass to carve it. She used her own blood to paint it when they ran out of other colors. She told stories about the horse to keep everyone awake. Stories? Asked Scala Void Essence, its smoky form flickering with interest. She imagined the horse could fly. She described how it would carry them all to safety. She made up adventures, where the horse fought monsters and saved whole cities. For 4 days, she never stopped creating new stories. Dr. Park held the toy up to the light. When the rescue teams finally found them, Sujin's father said the stories were the only thing that kept them sane. It's the only thing that kept them alive. She set the toy down next to the boot. Other species develop one path of evolution and follow it. Humans never stop imagining new possibilities. We create hope where none should exist. Next, she picked up the kitchen knife. It was plain and simple, with a sharp steel blade and a worn black handle. There were tiny scratches on the metal from years of use. "This knife belongs to my neighbor, Kim Dae-ho," Dr. Park said. "It is 70 years old. It was made to cut vegetables." "A simple tool," said Hive Speaker Crix. "Das, but watch what humans do with simple tools, Doctor." Park replied. She activated a small holographic projector. Images appeared in the air, showing the knife being used in many different ways. Kim Dae-ho has used this knife to prepare food for his family for 40 years. But he has also used it to cut rope when his ship was sinking. He used it to remove a bullet from a friend's arm when no doctor was available. He used it to carve a flute for his daughter when she was sad. He used it to cut through a metal wall when people were trapped in a fire. The images showed the knife being used as a screwdriver, a lever, a measuring tool, and even as a mirror to signal for help. "One tool, hundreds of uses," Dr. Park continued. "This is what makes humans dangerous. We can turn anything into what we need it to be." Finally, she picked up the smartphone. Its screen was cracked and the case was dented, but it still glowed with soft light. "This device is broken," she said. "It cannot make calls. It cannot connect to networks. Most species would throw it away." "As they should," said Speaker Zeth. "But humans see possibilities others miss," Dr. Park said. She touched the screen, and it lit up with a video. "Watch this." The video showed a human settlement on a desert planet. The people looked hungry and tired. Their water was running low. Their crops were failing. Communication system was broken. This colony was dying, Dr. Park explained. They had no way to call for help. But they had 17 broken devices like this one. The video showed humans taking apart the broken phones and tablets and computers. They used the parts to build new things: water purifiers, solar panels, communication arrays. They turned 17 pieces of junk into a system that saved 8,000 lives, Dr. Park said. They connected the pieces in ways no one had ever tried before. They made something new from things that were broken. She set the phone down with the other objects. "This is humanity's greatest weapon. We see connections others cannot see. We find solutions others cannot imagine." Captain Haeun Woo Kim stepped forward. "Each of these objects represents a human truth. We endure when others give up. We create hope when others despair. We adapt when others break. We connect when others separate." He looked around the hall at all the alien faces. "You ask why we carry no weapons? It is because we have learned to make weapons from everything around us. But more than that, we have learned to make weapons from the things inside us." "What things?" asked High Chancellor of Rex. "Stubbornness," said Haeun-woo. "Imagination, adaptability, and most dangerous of all, the refusal to accept that any problem cannot be solved." War Prime Thok gripped his warhammer tighter. "These are not weapons. These are just human things." "Exactly," said Dr. Sojin Park with a smile. "Just human things. But when you put them together, when you give them to a species that refuses to quit, that never stops creating, that can turn anything into a tool." She gestured to the 4 simple objects on the table. "You get a species that can solve any problem, survive any disaster, and turn any enemy into a friend. You get a species that is dangerous, not because of what they carry, but because of what they are." The hall fell silent once more. The delegates stared at the humble objects: a worn boot, a child's toy, a simple knife, and a broken phone. "These things conquered the Void Raiders?" asked Scholar Void Essence quietly. "No," said Captain Haeun Woo Kim. "The humans who made these things conquered the Void Raiders. By being human." High Chancellor of Rex stood up from his crystal throne. His plasma blade hummed with energy as he walked closer to the humans. "Yes. Your objects tell interesting stories," he said. "But stories are not proof. History is proof. Show us real events, where humans succeeded without weapons." Dr. Unisong stepped forward. She was the historian of the human team, and she had prepared for this moment her entire life. Your Honor, I will share 3 events from human history that show why weapons are not necessary for our species. She activated a large holographic display that filled the center of the hall. The first image showed a small human city surrounded by high walls. Outside the walls, a massive army was camped with weapons that glowed in the darkness. This is the city of Busan, on our home planet, Dr. Song began. 400 years ago, an enemy force of 50,000 soldiers surrounded it. Inside the city were only 300 human defenders. War Prime Thok laughed. 300 against 50,000. The defenders died quickly. Yes. No, said Dr. Song. They held the city for 6 months. The laughter stopped. Delegates leaned forward to study the images more carefully. The enemy had better weapons, Dr. Song continued. They had cannons that could break through stone walls. They had skilled generals who had never lost a battle. They had enough food and supplies to wait for years. Then how did 300 humans survive? Asked Speaker Zeth. They used what other species would call weakness, Dr. Song replied. They used the fact that they were outnumbered. The holographic display showed the layout of the city. It was built on a hill near the ocean, with narrow streets and tall buildings packed closely together. The enemy expected the humans to fight like warriors, Dr. Song explained. Expected big battles with formations and charges. Instead, the humans fought like humans. The display showed small groups of humans moving through the city streets. At night, they carried simple tools instead of weapons: ropes, buckets, even cooking pots. They turned the city itself into a weapon, Dr. Song said. They knew every street, every building, every hidden passage. When the enemy entered the city, they found themselves lost in a maze. The images showed enemy soldiers wandering confused. Through identical-looking streets, they showed humans dropping nets from buildings, rolling barrels down hills, and using mirrors to blind attackers with reflected sunlight. The humans never fought fair battles, Dr. Song continued. They fought smart battles. They made the enemy's strength work against them. 50,000 soldiers became 50,000 targets wandering through a trap. Hive Speaker Crix's bioweapons twitched with interest. Clever. But how did they win? They did not win through killing, Dr. Song said. They won through patience. Every day, they captured a few enemy soldiers. But instead of killing them, they gave them food and medical care. They showed them kindness. The display showed human defenders treating wounded enemy soldiers, sharing their water, and even teaching them to read human writing. The enemy soldiers began to wonder why they were fighting people who helped them when they were hurt, Dr. Song explained. After 4 months, many enemy soldiers refused to attack. After 6 months, the enemy army fell apart from the inside. Thok gripped his warhammer tighter. This is one story. One lucky event. Here's another, Dr. Song said, changing the display. The new images showed space itself, with human ships facing strange alien vessels that seemed to be made of living metal. These ships moved in ways that defied physics, bending and flowing like water. 50 years ago, when humans first traveled to other star systems, we met the Tekari, Dr. Song said. They were raiders who attacked our exploration ships. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of ours. The display showed human ships being torn apart by weapons that looked like controlled lightning. Human colonists ran for their lives as Tekar warriors landed on their planets. The Tekari were perfect fighters, Dr. Song continued. Their ships could not be damaged. Their weapons could not be stopped. They seemed to enjoy causing pain and fear. What did the humans do? Asked Scholar Void Essence. They studied their enemies, Dr. Song replied. Not their weapons or their ships, but their minds. The display showed human scientists watching recordings of Tekari attacks. They were not looking at the destruction, but at the behavior of the attackers. Dr. Zhang Heiwan noticed something strange, Dr. Song said. The Tekari always attacked in the same patterns. They always took the same things from human colonies. They always left at the same time of day, asked several delegates. So they were not really raiders, Dr. Song explained. They were performing rituals. The attacks were not about taking resources or gaining territory. They were about proving their strength to their own people. The display showed human psychologists working with captured Takari recordings, trying to understand their culture. The humans realized that the Takari were trapped by their own traditions. Dr. Song continued. They had to prove they were strong, but they had no enemies left who could challenge them. So they created enemies by attacking peaceful humans. Did this help? Asked High Chancellor Vrex. Duh! The humans gave them what they really wanted, Dr. Song said. A fight, but a chance to prove their strength in a way that helped instead of hurt. The display showed an amazing sight. Human colonies working together with Takari warriors. The aliens were using their incredible technology to help humans build better cities, better farms, better schools. The humans challenged the Takari to prove their strength by protecting human colonies instead of attacking them, Dr. Song explained. They turned enemies into guardians by understanding what they really needed. Commander Woojin Choi stepped forward. The Takari still protect human colonies today. They are some of our closest allies. Or Prime Thok stood up again. 2 stories prove nothing. Maybe humans are just lucky. Here is the 3rd story, Dr. Song said, changing the display once more. This time, the images showed a beautiful planet with crystal cities and flowing rivers. But something was wrong. People in the cities were lying still, and the rivers were turning black. This is New Helix, a Verlani colony, Dr. Song said. 3 years ago, it was struck by the Crimson Plague. Many delegates made sounds of fear, or sadness. The Crimson Plague was one of the worst disasters in recent galactic history. The plague was unlike anything seen before, Dr. Song continued. It attacked the nervous system of any species with advanced brain development. The more intelligent a being was, the faster it died. The display showed Verlani doctors working desperately with their advanced medical technology. Nothing worked. The plague spread faster than it could be studied. The Verlani sent their best scientists, Dr. Song said. The Federation sent its most advanced medical teams. Every species contributed their finest minds and their most powerful technology. And, asked High Chancellor Vrex quietly. 2 million Verlani died in the first month, Dr. Song said. The plague was winning. Hall was completely silent now. Everyone remembered the fear that had swept through the galaxy when the plague first appeared. Then the humans arrived, Dr. Song continued. But they did not bring advanced technology. They brought something the plague had never encountered before. What? Asked Speaker Zeth. They brought primitive medicine, Dr. Song said. Ancient. Techniques that humans had used thousands of years ago before they had advanced technology. Display showed human doctors using simple tools. Herbs, clay, even mud. They were treating dying Verlani with methods that looked like magic rituals. The plague was designed to fight advanced medicine, Dr. Song explained. It could adapt to any high-tech treatment. But it could not understand treatments that were thousands of years old. Impossible, whispered Hive Speaker Crix. The human doctors used techniques their ancestors had developed to fight diseases on Earth, Dr. Song said. They used plant medicines, heat therapy, and meditation. They used treatments so simple that the plague could not adapt to them. The display showed Verlani, patients, sitting up, talking, walking around. The crystal cities were full of life again. Human medicine saved 2 million lives, Dr. Song said. Not because it was advanced, but because it was ancient. Because humans never forget the old ways, even when they learn new ones. Captain Hyen Woo Kim stepped forward. These 3 stories showed the same truth, he said. Humans succeed not by being stronger or smarter or more advanced than their enemies. They succeed by being different. Different how? Asked High Chancellor Vrex. We think differently, said Dr. Song. We solve problems differently. We approach challenges from directions others never consider. When others see a wall, we see a ladder, added Commander Choi. When others see an enemy, we see a potential. Friend, when others see defeat, we see a puzzle to solve. Ambassador Jinho Lee spoke last. Your Honor, these stories are not about human victories. They're about human nature. We are a species that refuses to accept that any problem cannot be solved. We just need to find the right approach. And that, said Captain Hyen Woo Kim, is why we do not need weapons. Because the greatest weapon in the galaxy is the refusal. To give up, combined with the ability to see solutions where others see only problems. High Chancellor Vrex walked back to his throne slowly. His plasma blade had stopped humming. These stories, they are verified? They are true? Every word, Your Honor, said Dr. Song. There are thousands more like them. The Chancellor sat down heavily. Around the hall, delegates whispered to each other in their various languages. Some looked amazed. Others looked worried. If this is true, said Scholar Void Essence, then humans are not weak at all. They are something else entirely. What are we? Asked Captain Hyen Woo Kim. You are problem solvers, said the ethereal being. And that may be the most dangerous thing of all. High Chancellor Vrex raised his hand for silence. The council will now recess for deliberation, he announced. All delegates will remain in the hall while the council meets privately. The massive crystal throne began to sink back into the floor. Around the hall, the senior members of each species stood and followed the Chancellor through a doorway that opened in the far wall. War Prime Thok, Hive Speaker Crix, Scholar Void Essence, and the other leaders disappeared into the private chamber. The humans sat down in their simple chairs. Captain Hyen Woo Kim looked tired but hopeful. Ambassador Jin Ho Lee folded his hands and waited quietly. Dr. Sojin Park organized her notes. While Commander Woo Jin Choi watched the other delegates carefully, Dr. Yuna Song studied the empty space on the wall where no picture hung. Do you think we have a chance? She whispered. We have told them the truth, said Captain Hyen Woo Kim. Now we must trust them to understand it. Behind the closed doors, the council members took their seats around a smaller crystal table. Private chamber was simple compared to the Great Hall, with smooth walls and soft lighting. Here they could speak freely without being heard by the other delegates. High Chancellor Vrex activated privacy field that would keep their words from traveling beyond the room. We must discuss what we have heard today, he said. But first, let us share what we have not said in public. War Prime Thok set his warhammer on the table with a heavy thud. I will speak first, he said. Humans did not tell you everything. About the Battle of New Seoul, the other council members leaned forward with interest. My people were there, Thok continued. We were part of the Federation fleet that came to help after the Void Raiders attacked. We arrived expecting to find a dead colony. Instead, we found something impossible. What did you find? Asked Hive Speaker Crix. We found the Void Raiders. Helping humans plant crops, Thok said slowly. The same beings who had destroyed 100 colonies were teaching human children how to make tools. They were ... laughing, playing games. Scholar Void Essence flickered with surprise. This was not in any report. Because we did not know how to report it, Thok admitted. How do you explain that the galaxy's most feared raiders had become friends? How do you explain that humans had done in 1 week what the Federation had failed to do in centuries? Hive Speaker Crix's bioweapons twitched nervously. The humans helped my people as well, she said reluctantly. Last year, our hive colonies on Kepler 7 began fighting each other. It was a civil war that could have destroyed our entire species. The report said the conflict ended through traditional negotiations, said High Chancellor Vrex. The reports were wrong, Crix replied. Traditional negotiations failed completely. Our hive minds could not understand each other anymore. We were ready to fight until only one hive survived. She paused, her insect-like features showing discomfort. Then a human child visited our planet, a girl named Park Yujin, only 12 years old. She was there with her parents who were studying our language. A child solved your civil war, asked Scholar Void Essence. She did not solve it, Crix said. She did something else. She learned to speak all 7 hive languages. Once, she became a bridge between our minds. She helped us remember that we were all the same species, just thinking in different ways. The council members sat in stunned silence. The child still visits us, Crix continued. She helps our hives work together on projects that were impossible. Before, she is not a diplomat or a scientist. She is just a human child who refused to accept that communication was impossible. Speaker Zeth of the Corvani spoke next. 2 years ago, our homeworld's sun began to die. Our scientists said we had perhaps 50 years before it collapsed completely. We began planning to evacuate our entire civilization. Your sun was stabilized, said High Chancellor Vrex. Your own scientists found a solution. No, said Speaker Zeth, human engineers found a solution. Not the kind of solution we expected. He activated a small holographic display showing a dying star surrounded by strange structures. Our scientists tried to fix the sun using advanced technology. They built massive machines to restart the nuclear fusion. Nothing worked. What did the humans do? Asked Thok. They asked our children to draw pictures of what they thought the sun looked like, Speaker Zeth said. Thousands of pictures from Corvani children. The humans studied these drawings like they were scientific data. Pictures from children. Crix clicked in confusion. The children drew the sun as a sad, tired old man who needed help, Speaker Zeth explained. The humans realized that our problem was not technical. It was that we were trying to force the sun to be young again. Instead, they helped us learn to work with an old sun. The display showed the strange structures more clearly. They were solar collectors and energy redirectors, but designed in flowing, organic shapes rather than mechanical ones. The humans taught us to help our sun age gracefully, Speaker Zeth said. They turned our dying sun into a more efficient energy source than it had ever been before. They solved our problem by changing how we thought about the problem. Scholar Void Essence's smoky form rippled with emotion. The humans helped my people as well, but I am ashamed to admit it. Speak freely, said High Chancellor Vrex. My people. The Netherians believed we were the most advanced species in the galaxy, Scholar Void Essence said. We exist as pure energy. I thought beings with physical bodies were primitive. What changed your mind? Asked Thok. We encountered a problem that energy beings could not solve, the scholar continued. Our young were dying. They could not learn to maintain their energy forms. We were facing extinction. The other council members had never heard of this crisis. The Netherians had hidden it well, tried everything. Scholar Void Essence continued. We studied for decades. We built machines to help our young, created new energy fields to support them. Nothing worked. How did humans help? Asked. Crix, they sent us a teacher, the scholar said. An old human woman named Kim Hai Jin. She was a grandmother who had raised 8 children and 23 grandchildren. A grandmother, asked Speaker Zeth. She did not understand our technology, Scholar Void Essence explained. She did not know anything about energy beings, but she knew about children. She knew about love. The ethereal being's form grew brighter. She taught us that our young were not failing to maintain their energy forms. They were lonely. They needed connection, not just energy. She showed us how to teach them through play, through stories, through games. This is impossible, muttered Thok. She saved our species, Scholar Void Essence said simply. A primitive human grandmother solved a problem that our greatest minds could not understand. She did it by treating our energy children like any other children who needed love and attention. High Chancellor Vrex leaned back in his chair. His plasma blade had gone completely dark. What are we dealing with? He asked quietly. I have been researching this question, said a new voice. Elder Prime Korth of the Vexani had been silent until now. He was the oldest being on the council, with gray skin covered in ancient scars. Speak, Elder Prime, said the Chancellor. I have studied every interaction between humans and Federation species for the past 50 years, Korth said. I've found a pattern that disturbs me. He activated his own holographic display, showing a map of the galaxy with different colored lights marking various planets. Every major crisis in the past 50 years has been resolved with human involvement, he said. The plague of Centauri 3, the asteroid storm of Vega, the trade wars of the Outer Rim, the rebellion of the machine worlds. The lights on the map pulsed in sequence, showing the timeline of events. In every case, Federation scientists and military forces failed to find solutions, Korth continued. In every case, humans found a way to solve the problem that no one else had considered. What does this mean? Asked High Chancellor Vrex. It means we have unknowingly become dependent on human problem-solving, Korth said grimly. We have become so specialized in our own strengths that we have forgotten how to adapt. The humans have become the galaxy's fixers. War Prime Thok gripped his warhammer. Why, they do not need weapons. They have turned themselves into a weapon. Not a weapon, corrected. Scholar Void Essence. A tool. It's the most dangerous tool in the galaxy. What tool? Asked Crix. The ability to solve any problem, the scholar replied. The ability to find hope where others see only despair. The ability to turn enemies into friends and disasters into opportunities. High Chancellor Vrex stood up slowly. If this is true, then we face a difficult choice. Do we admit beings to the Federation who might be more dangerous than any of us? Are they dangerous? Asked Speaker Zeth. Or are they necessary? Elder Prime Korth spoke the words that everyone was thinking. Perhaps the real question is not whether we should let them into the Federation. Perhaps the question is whether we can survive without them. The council chamber fell silent. Outside, the humans waited patiently, not knowing that their fate was being decided not by their weaknesses, but by their strengths. They solve problems. We cannot solve, said Hive Speaker Crix. They see solutions we cannot see, added Speaker Zeth. They give hope when we have none, said Scholar Void Essence. They turn our enemies into our friends, said War Prime, though KK. High Chancellor Vree. The crystal throne began to rise from the floor once again. High Chancellor Vrex appeared first, followed by the other council members. Their faces showed no emotion, but Captain Heinwu Kim noticed something different. War Prime Thok's warhammer hung loosely at his side instead of being held ready for battle. Hive Speaker Crix's bioweapons had stopped their nervous twitching. Scholavoid Essence's ethereal form was steady and calm. The human delegation stood up as the council members returned to their seats. Around the Great Hall, delegates from dozens of species watched silently. The moving stars on the ceiling seemed to slow down as if even they were waiting for the decision. High Chancellor Vrex activated his plasma blade. The white light filled the hall, casting long shadows on the crystal walls. The council has reached a decision, he announced. But first, we must ask the human delegation one final question. Ambassador Jinho Lee stepped forward. We are ready to answer, Your Honor. Captain Kim, said the Chancellor, you have shown us that humans can solve problems others cannot solve. You have shown us that humans can turn enemies into friends. You have shown us that humans can find hope where others see only despair. Yes, Your Honor. But we must know this. What happens when humans cannot solve a problem? What happens when even human creativity fails? The hall was completely silent. This was the question that could destroy everything the humans had worked for. Captain Hyenwu, Kim thought for a moment. Then he smiled. Your Honor, I must tell you something about humans that we have not mentioned yet. Speak. When humans cannot solve a problem alone, we do something that no other species has ever done, Hyenwu said. We ask for help. War Prime Thok leaned forward. All species ask for help sometimes. No, said Dr. Sojin Park, stepping up beside her captain. All species ask for help with things they cannot do. No humans ask for help with things they can do, but no others can do better. Explain this, said High Chancellor VRX. Commander Wu Jin Choi activated a holographic display showing the human colony on New Sol. When we made friends with the Void Raiders, we did not stop there. We asked them to teach us about their technology. We asked them to help us understand their culture. We asked them to work with us as equals. So, asked Hive Speaker Crix. So we learned that true strength comes not from being the best at everything, but from knowing when to let others be the best, said Dr. Unisong. The Void Raiders taught us about advanced stealth technology. We taught them about agriculture and medicine. Together, we created something neither of us could have made alone. She changed the display to show the Vrelani colony of New Helix. When we helped cure the Crimson Plague, we did not just use our old medicines. We worked with Vrelani doctors to combine ancient human techniques with advanced Vrelani science. The cure we created together was better than anything either species could have made alone. The display showed human doctors and Vrelani scientists working side by side, sharing knowledge and learning from each other. This is what humans do, said Captain Hyen-Woo Kim. We do not try to be better than everyone else. We try to help everyone else be better than they were before. High Chancellor Vrex stood up from his throne. And what if we do not want your help? What if we prefer to solve our own problems? Then we respect that choice, said Ambassador Jinho Lee. But we will be ready to help if you change your mind, asked War Prime Thok. What if we decide that humans are too dangerous to be allowed into the Federation? Captain Hyen-Woo Kim's expression became serious. Then we will be sad, but we will understand. We will return to our own worlds and continue to grow and learn. But we will not become your enemies. Why not? Scalavoid Essence. Because, said Dr. Sojin Park, humans have learned that making enemies is the most wasteful thing you can do. Every enemy is a potential friend you have not met yet. Every conflict is a problem waiting to be solved. High Chancellor Vrex walked down from his throne and approached the humans. He stood directly in front of Captain Hyen-Woo Kim. You claim that humans are dangerous through kindness. You claim that humans are powerful through weakness. You claim that humans are strong through cooperation. Yes, Your Honor. Then prove it one more time, said the Chancellor. Show us what humans do when they are given ultimate trust. He deactivated his plasma blade and set it on the floor at Hyen-Woo's feet. Around the hall, gasps echoed from the watching delegates. The High Chancellor had never given up his weapon. Before, I place my most precious possession in your hands, Vrex said. This blade has been carried by the leaders of my people for 1,000 years. It is the symbol of our honor and our strength. What do you do with it? Captain Hyen-Woo Kim looked down at the plasma blade. Its white light had dimmed, but it still glowed with incredible energy. He could feel the power in it, the history, the trust that had been placed in him. He bent down and picked up the blade carefully. Then he did something that no one expected. He handed it back to High Chancellor Vrex. Your Honor, he said, this blade belongs to you and your people. It is part of your history, your culture, your identity. The greatest honor you can give us is not to give up what makes you who you are. The greatest honor is to let us stand beside you while you carry it. High Chancellor Vrex took his blade back slowly. For the first time since the session began, he smiled. This, he said, is why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, are we? Asked Captain Hyen-Woo Kim. Yes, said the Chancellor, because you make everyone around you want to be better than they were before. He activated his plasma blade again and raised it high above his head. The Council has made its decision. Not only is humanity granted membership in the Galactic Federation, but we bestow upon them an honor that has never been given before. The hall erupted in whispers and gasps. Some delegates stood up from their seats. From this day forward, High Chancellor Vrex continued, humans alone are granted the right to enter the council halls without weapons, not because they are weak, but because they have proven that they do not need weapons to be strong. But more than that, said War Prime Thok, standing up with his warhammer, they have proven that they can make the rest of us stronger without making us weaker. They have shown us that true power comes not from what you can destroy, but from what you can create, added Hive Speaker Crix. They have taught us that the greatest victory is turning an enemy into a friend, said Scalavoid Essence. High Chancellor Vrex looked around the hall at all the assembled delegates. Let it be. Recorded in the histories of all species, humanity is welcomed into the Federation not as subjects, but as teachers. Not as followers, but as guides. Not as the weakest among us, but as the strongest. Ambassador Jinho Lee stepped forward. Your Honor, we accept this honor with humility and gratitude. We promise to use this privilege wisely and to help the Federation grow stronger through cooperation and understanding. But, said Captain Hyen-Woo Kim with a small smile, we must tell you something important. What is that? Asked the Chancellor. Everything we have shown you today, the problem-solving, the creativity, the ability to make friends from enemies, these are not our greatest strengths. War Prime Thok gripped his warhammer tighter. They are not. No, said Dr. Sojin Park. These are just what humans do when we are trying to be peaceful and helpful. The hall became very quiet. Some delegates looked confused. Others looked worried. What do you mean? Asked High Chancellor VRX. Commander Wujin Choi spoke carefully. What the captain means is that humans are naturally cooperative and kind. We prefer to solve problems through friendship and understanding. We choose to help others because it makes us happy, but, as Scholar Void Essence. But humans also have other abilities, said Dr. Unisong. Abilities we hope we never need to use. Abilities that come out when the people we care about are threatened. What abilities? Asked several delegates at once. Captain Hyan Woo Kim looked around the hall at all the alien faces watching him. The ability to fight for what we believe in. The ability to protect the innocent. The ability to stand up to bullies no matter how powerful they are. He paused, then continued. The ability to be absolutely terrifying when someone tries to hurt our friends. But added Ambassador Jinho Lee quickly, we would much rather be your friends than your enemies. We would much rather help you solve problems than create new ones. High Chancellor Vrex nodded slowly. We understand. You are a species of peace, but you are prepared for war. You're prepared for anything, said Captain Hyan Woo Kim. But we choose peace because it is better for everyone. The Chancellor raised his plasma blade once more. Then let us choose peace together. Let us build a federation where weapons are carried for honor, not for fear. Let us create a galaxy where problems are solved through cooperation, not conquest. To the Galactic Federation, he said to the humans, may your presence make us all stronger, wiser, and more hopeful. As the ceremony ended and the delegates began to leave, Dr. Sojin Park made a note in her personal journal. Day 1 of Federation membership. They welcomed us with open arms. They still do not fully understand what humans are capable of. When we are truly angry, let us hope they never need to find out. She closed the journal and smiled. After all, there was a whole galaxy full of new friends to meet, new problems to solve, and new adventures to discover. And humans, as always, were ready for whatever came next. The council halls continued to float in the darkness of space, but now they held something that had never been there before. Hope for a future where strength came not from weapons, but from the courage to help others, the wisdom to ask for help, and the determination to never give up on the possibility that even the worst enemies could become the best of friends. And in the empty space on the wall where no picture had ever hung, a new image began to appear. Humans and aliens working together, building something beautiful in the stars.